Welcome to Books, Kids, and Creations, a part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'm your host, Tracy Bloom, and today I have a fabulous guest, Stephanie Booth. She is a debut author, but she has a long list of accolades from her extensive career in writing for all kinds of magazines and documentaries and all kinds of wonderful things where she's just been a top contributor, writing fantastic things. So Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to talk to you and learn all about everything you do. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so Stephanie is located in Portland, Oregon. And for those of you who don't know, I used to live there. And one of my favorite things about living in Oregon was the nature and how you could just be inspired by literally walking out your door and going out into the city or out into the woods and seeing all the waterfalls. And you're never far from anything inspiring you there. So what is the key driver for your inspiration? I know it's kind of cliche, but I always like to understand what gets people going before they start writing.
Yeah. Um, I think there are two ways I can answer that. The first is what you mentioned about being outside. I love that is one of my favorite things about Portland too, is how it is so walkable and nature is always, I mean, getting out of the city and getting into nature is usually like a 5 or 10 minute drive away. So I find that and just being alone with my thoughts outside while I'm going on a hike or a walk is really useful for me. Um, and then sometimes I feel like that gives my thoughts a chance to settle or for me to kind of think through interesting patterns or connections about things that have even happened in my day or that I've come across that I might not have realized. And that can lead to a really interesting story.
Yeah. And you have a formal education in writing from, is it Emerson?
Yeah, I got my bachelor's and my master's at University of New Mexico, and then I got my master's of fine arts in creative writing at Emerson in Boston.
Yeah, and I'm sure that throughout that period, you probably learned from a lot of great people. What are some of the things that you carry with you from, those programs into what you do today?
That's a good question. Um, the beauty for me of going to grad school for writing was this gorgeous ribbon of time to really focus on my writing and not be distracted by a lot of other things in my life.
Mm.
Um, and the community that it built. I have friends that I met in grad school who I'm still close to today. And it is such a great feeling to have someone know you, to be familiar with your writing and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You trust to look at your work.
Yeah. And I'm always interested in how people, step into careers of writing.
Kind of seat of my pants, I think. I remember writing an essay, sending it to 17 way back when, and they accepted it. And it was like this beautiful foot in the door. Um,
Nice.
Not my foot that was beautiful, but this beautiful door that, and all of a sudden, like when an editor knows you and they're okay with your work, they're more willing to work with you again.
Yeah.
And a lot of times editors at the time would kind of hopscotch from one magazine to another. And if you were a writer that they had a good relationship with, then they would just take kind of always assign you stuff in their new
Hmm.
outlet. So
That is
very, very lucky.
that's so cool though, but I mean that you were like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take a chance and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still remember exactly where I was too when I learned that um the essay would be in 17. Like it was so cool. I still even have copies of the magazine.
Of
So
course, yeah, I would too if that was my work. And so now you have this wonderful debut book that just came out, Libby Lost and Found. published through Source Books, who I love Source Books and everything they put out. Everything is just quality and moving. How long did it take you to come up with this idea? Like, have you always kind of had the inclination that you wanted to write something on this topic, or um,
No, I have ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to write novels. I loved going to the library as a kid. Adored reading. It was like my mainstay as a kid.
yeah.
And I always really wanted to create my own books. Um, I had actually been working on a completely different novel
Hmm.
about three sisters who were estranged and dealing with the death of their very eccentric mother. I had been working on it for years. I'd revised it a million times. And I just felt like something wasn't working and I didn't know what. At the same time, I had been doing a lot of interviews for different websites or magazines, and so many times it would come up in conversation that the person I was talking to was caring for someone with Alzheimer's or had had someone that they love
Yeah.
be diagnosed with it. So that broke my heart and really stuck with me. And when I was trying to figure out a way to revise this manuscript that I felt wasn't working, I realized that that was something that I really wanted to include.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I really took from that original manuscript was a an 11-year-old girl named Peanut Bixton who
I
turns
love the name.
it turns out to be one of the main characters in Libby Lost and Found. And
Yeah.
those ideas just kind of intertwined.
Yeah. And part of the reason why I was so interested also in the story is because, like many people you talk to, uh, my grandma started, losing her memory and had some memory challenges towards the end of her life. And it made things really hard, for those who cared for her and loved her. And it's very challenging when those things happen. And yeah, I was curious. I thought, I wonder if she has a personal experience with it, or if it was just like you see something and you're moved by it and you want to just bring it into your story you're creating.
I'm so sorry to hear that. And I don't know anyone personally. I have friends, close friends who have lost someone or coping with someone who has had dementia. Um, I think it's one of those things where you can see it happening, have no way to fix it,
Right.
and just want to acknowledge that in some way.
Yeah. And I think that your book does a really good job with managing that, but also you weave in some fantasy elements into your story. Do you want to talk about how you were able to marry both fantasy with something that is pretty, a serious topic?
I think, well, in the book, Libby, who has her early onset dementia diagnosis, writes the best-selling fantasy series books in the world. And for me to try to get a grasp on what would make these books so special
Yeah.
or what exactly she was doing all the time, with her life, I really had to start sketching out what the books would be. And I had so much fun with them and got so kind of caught up in these characters that my notes turned into like little paragraphs of the books. And then I still have notebooks where I just kind of outlined what each of the Falling Children books would be.
Yeah.
But I think it felt really helpful for me as a writer to include them too, because Libby's story has so much weight to it, and what she's going through in her life is um, tough
Yeah.
to be really simplistic about it. And being able to escape into like these little fantasy series that she writes,
Yeah.
or even Peanut's Head instead felt like a really welcome relief.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a cool story. And I highly encourage people to read this book. It's wonderful. You're a wonderful writer, and I'm sure you have some future plans. Are you already writing your next book, or are you able to
Yeah.
share about that?
Yeah, I have finished something else that is with my agent, and I'm starting to work on something else. I have no idea what it is. I just know it's really messy, and I'm kind of scribbling down ideas every day. So I'm curious
Yeah.
to see where that will go.
And you mentioned something before about like something didn't feel right when you were working on something before. And I think all authors know that feeling. Like I have several books that I've been working on for years where I've gotten to a point and I stopped because something was off. And there's some of them where I'm like, I'll go back and I'll work on it and I'm like, no, something's still off here. I don't know what it is. And it's almost like there's just some kind of timing or there's some kind of like aha moment that you need to go through before you get it. And you're like, okay, now I know what it is and I can take it in this other direction. But I just wanted to kind of call that out because I think it's something that I think a lot of authors go through where you're like, something's off and you don't know what it is, but then you might go back when you have some other experience and pick it right back up.
I really love that idea. I never thought of it in terms of timing.
Yeah.
Um, but that makes a lot of sense. I think for me at least, my first instinct is like, okay, this is over with. I can't do it. I've messed up. This is a complete failure. But I think you're right that it's like making a soup and sometimes you just have
Right.
one more ingredient and
Right.
it has to simmer for a while.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe you're supposed to put some other ingredient in there that
Yeah.
don't even know about yet. So, I guess as far as like future book plans, do you have, because this book just came out, are you doing any author talks or anything like that coming up?
I have a couple of virtual events coming up in the next couple months. And aside from that, I guess it's just kind of wait and see.
What is your overall goal for your readers? Like when you have someone pick up your book, what's like one thing you really hope that they gain from your book or experience when they read your work?
Oh, there are so many things. I think the first thing that comes to mind is having that sense of being a kid and loving a book so much and being so invested in turning the pages that your real life falls away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe just, I would really love if someone could pick up Libby Lost and Found and remember what it was like to feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful story
Oh,
and it's very well written. It's a page turner. I love it. And I highly encourage everyone to go out there and pick up this book. It's published through Source Books. Stephanie Booth, incredible author. And thank you so much for being here today. It's been a real pleasure.
oh, thank you so much for having me.